This is Peter Christian Hessing, and I would love again to talk to you about ending poverty in America and around the world. Um, we have nearly 8 billion people around the world, and this is a cell phone. Nearly 6 billion people have cell phones in America, and cell phones now are like computers. You know, cell phones now you can access the internet. I mean, they have become like the most powerful um, uh, tool that they're one of the most powerful inventions that we have now with cell phones. So if 6 billion people in the world have cell phones now, we can create 6 billion businesses because with cell phones you can access the internet, and that means that these people are able to have a job, to work their own businesses, and to earn money and come out of poverty. I've been talking to the president and about writing to congressmen, senators, and prime ministers about that. And we hope that they will now be listening. That the cell phone has become the most powerful invention, the most powerful in technical tool now that we have. We can communicate around the world in seconds. I have I've been calling. I was able to call um, Switzerland. I'm into patents, and I was able to call Switzerland. Here I am in Arizona. I was able to call Switzerland. I've been able to call places in India, Dubai, the Philippines, all around the world in a matter of seconds. And that gives the people in the world a tremendous um, opportunity to bring people out of poverty and the end of wars and so forth. Everybody can live a better life because of the invention of the telephone and cell phones. Now that you can have a business, we can educate people around the world. We could have a healthcare system. We could monitor every disease um, around the world. We have Ebola, we have HIV, we have AIDS. We can actually um, create a 24/7 um, global health preventive network, referral network with our phones because we can get video, there's audio, we can track these diseases around the world. One of the reasons why so many people have died from AIDS and HIV is that they have never been able to find out the source, the real source of these diseases. If they were able to find out the source of HIV, where it really came from, and track these diseases, millions of people will not be dying from HIV and AIDS. I know thousands are dying from Ebola. One of the reasons they're not being able to track it, but with cell phones now we can track every disease around the world, and we can provide every human being, a billion people, with healthcare. So this is something that the United Nations, we have the healthcare, World Health Organizations should be doing. At the same time, um, we have to get the World Bank and the central banks, the IMF in the world now to create individual accounts for 8 billion people in the world. They can't just give the money just to governments and expect the governments to give it to the people because for the past 50 years, the IMF and the World Bank has been giving trillions of dollars out in loans, and these governments have not been able to give it to the people, and that's why 5 billion or 6 billion people in the world are still poor and living in ghettos and shanties and slums around the world. So we have now to get the World Bank, the IMF, the central banks, the Federal Reserve to set up 8 billion or 5 billion accounts for every human being and start giving them money so they can have a business, get money for food, housing. We can stop homelessness. We have so many people living in ghettos and shanties and refugee camps in Syria, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Gaza, people in Africa living in slum areas. And know that we have uh, cell phones. A lot of these people have cell phones and can access the internet. We can provide an international network of businesses and money from the IMF and the World Bank. So we now have to get United Nations and the World Bank to modernize, to create an international phone and computer network where 8 billion people can have access to money and come out of poverty, so we can stop terrorism and wars. So there are nearly 30 million businesses in America, and we have an economy here in America of about $15 trillion. But there are nearly 50 million poor people and homeless people in America. And America, we here in America, we're supposed to be the richest and most powerful country in the world. And nearly these people in America, 50 million poor, according to the Census Department, have cell phones. I've asked the president now, President Obama, to create a business, a business license for these 50 million people. We could have 50 million business sales internet businesses set up for these 50 million poor homeless people in America. And this would double the amount of business. This would probably double our GNP to about $30 trillion. We would have, instead of 30 million businesses, we'd have 50 million business people selling products for other businesses. So they wouldn't be competing against one another. You would have people selling products for Walmart, or selling products for Amazon, or selling products for Best Buy, or selling products for Sears, or selling cars and phones for General Motors, or phones for Apple, or computers and laptops for Microsoft, or some of these big corporations. So you're not competing with these corporations. You are selling products for them. And that would have to bring people out of poverty. We're asking now the President and the Congress to create a program of business licenses and low-income corporations that people can have their own businesses. The 50 million poor people in America can come out of poverty now. And this is something that we can quickly do. We definitely have to end poverty and homelessness in America. And we have to get our governments and our senators and congressmen to have a system where they can help the poor people start their own businesses and also create trust businesses for the children, so that the children can have their parents run a business until they become of age. So we don't have poor and homeless people in the streets of Los Angeles, or on the streets of New York, or in Washington D.C., or in Tucson, or Phoenix, or in Arizona. So we have to modernize. The problem is that we have not modernized our systems, and that's why we're having all this poverty also in weapons. You can imagine now we're able to, through phones, if you put the phones and guns and so forth, you can phones in these powerful weapons, you can actually control these weapons, control every weapon in the world. So we need now to have our governments modernize and use technology to make peace and love, and everybody can live in peace. And have all the foods we have here, some nice apples that God gave us here. Apples, I have tomatoes. I love to talk about food. So peace and love. Give your hearts and life to Jesus. Let us modernize our economy and make peace in the wars in Syria and Afghanistan and so forth. Peace and love. So we stop the terrorism there.